What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Happy New Year. This is our first video of 2022, and I'm excited to be getting back to making content regularly after taking a little holiday break at the end of the year. As you know, we are right in the thick of banlist season, one of the many times of the year where the Yu-Gi-Oh community goes wild with predictions and theories and totally real leaks and everything in between. You've got a lot of people speculating on what we might see get hit. Will we get some things back? I think a lot of us, myself included, bought into the hype of Max C coming back in October. It did not happen, unfortunately, but such is the way it goes. The next update to the ban list is no sooner than January 17th, 2022, but it doesn't mean we won't get any information before that. So, of course, as usual, when that information drops, I will cover it here, and I do plan on doing a ban list prediction video this week as well. More of a wish list slash prediction video. I was very much off the beat on almost everything on the last list, but I think a lot of people were because they just went in a completely different direction than a lot of us were expecting, and unfortunately, that last list was kind of a letdown. They didn't really do much to shake things up, which I'm hoping will be the case this time around, especially with the YCSs coming up. Will we get Max C back? Will there be hits to things like Nadir Servant, some of the Invoke package? Will Dragoon get hit? Will Verte get hit? So on and so forth. There's a lot to talk about and a lot to unpack with that entire thing, and we will do that later this week. But today, for the first video, I do want to talk about the new Therians archetype that was announced for Dimension Force. Dimension Force releases in the OCG on January 15th, so we should have a full set spoiler very soon. This archetype looks like it has some potential and does have a nice diversity in terms of archetypes and typing, so it's cool to see, just basically giving these a quick read through, what we're looking at as far as a potential, you know, meta-relevant deck, depending on what people can kind of get into the lab and put together. But let's go ahead and jump into the video. Before I do that, though, ask you guys, if you have not already, please like the video and subscribe. Like 75% of the people who watch the channel are not subscribed. So while I very much appreciate you watching, if you do click the subscribe button, it does help out a ton. We do giveaways, openings, reactions, reviews, pretty much anything, you know, across the Yu-Gi-Oh verse, and then some. So obviously we definitely would like to grow that fan base. So starting us off with the Therians King Regulus, he is a level 8 machine earth monster. You can only use each of the following effects of this card once per turn. You can target one Therians monster or machine monster in your graveyard. Special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, equip that target to this card. When your opponent activates a card or effect, you can send one Therians monster from your hand or field to the graveyard, negate that effect. A Therians monster equipped with this card gains 700 attack and the preceding effect. So that's some interesting verbiage, but what it's ultimately saying is that if you equip this to a different Therians monster, that monster gains the effect where it says when your opponent activates a card or effect, you can send one Therians monster from your hand or field to the grave, negate that effect. So there are ways in which you can like use this effect and then equip it and use it again with a different monster. So there's some cool recursion there and allowing you to bypass that once per turn restriction. He is a free extender that can just summon himself, and I'm not sure yet how I feel about all the Therians as a whole, but I do feel like there's some interesting applications with machines in general. I don't know whether or not the Union machines might be worth a look with this, being able to basically force equip them, and maybe there's some that, you know, can special summon themselves, and there's combos that can come as a result. It's definitely a really cool card. I love the artwork on it, and it feels like it's strong potential. Whether or not Therians will be a solo deck or a deck that functions as part of an engine remains to be seen, but I think it's a little soon to say for sure what exactly it's going to look like. On paper, though, really solid card, definitely one of the boss monsters for the archetype, and the negation is good. It doesn't really care where the card or effect activation comes from, so it's an omni negate that you can theoretically use up to 2 times in a turn if you are able to combo off properly. Therians Lily Berea. This one I saw a lot of people talking about last night on Zodiac, specifically because it's a plant monster, so there are ways to get it out pretty quick with Lone Fire Blossom. But let's see the effect. You can only use each of the effects of this card once per turn. You can target one Therians monster or plant monster in your graveyard. Special summon this card from your hand, and if you do equip that target to this card, you can send one card from your hand or field to the graveyard. Add one Therian Speller Trap from your deck to your hand. A Therians monster equipped with this card gains 700 attack and the preceding effect. So this is the same summon condition with the exception that it needs a plant instead of a machine, and it allows you to discard a card from hand or field to search any Therian Speller Trap. Definitely a nice option to have, being able to get access to your cards it doesn't need plants, but it feels like it's going to have some synergy with plants for sure, based on some of the stuff that I've read. So, pretty good so far. Therians Duke Jewel. This is a Psychic Light level 8. Same summon condition, except it just needs a Psychic. While you control an equipped card, Therians monsters you control cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. A Therians monster equipped with this card gains 700 attack and the preceding effect. So this is really solid. Being able to give blanket destruction protection for cards is really good, and because this can basically be equipped by any of the effects, it's not hard to set up. As a matter of fact, if you use this with the, the boss monster Regulus here, you have immunity to destruction from card effects and negation, which can sort of start to piece together a strong starting board. So I like that. It does look good. 2800 defense. I mean, I'm guessing if you're summoning this guy, like hard summoning him, you're probably going to be putting him in defense mode, but again, it's just a solid card on paper that definitely gives you a little bit more of a theme to build around. It seems like it's going almost like a protect the castle kind of vibe, which could be good. Sometimes it ends up being a little fragile, but we'll see what the rest of the cards do. Therians Bull's Een, or Ein, I might have mispronounced that. Same effect as far as the summon goes, but it's a warrior, and this is a level 7, so there might be some Xyz synergy there. You can target one Therians card you control and one card your opponent controls, destroy them. A Therians monster equipped with this card gains 700 attack and the preceding effect. So this is really cool in terms of removal, and one of the things that sticks out to me immediately is if you equip this to something, let's say this guy, you can target him and then an opponent's card, and because he's protected from effect destruction, no, it's opponent's card effect, so it wouldn't work in that case. Oh well, fun theory, I guess. That probably would have been a little too good, though, to have that kind of infinite sort of removal without having to worry about the drawbacks that come along with it. Although in today's Yu-Gi-Oh, I don't know that it would have been terribly egregious either. Regardless, though, it's a cool card. It's removal, and it does give your other monsters the removal benefit as well, as many of them do. So I like it. It seems a little weaker in terms of like some of the other cards we've seen so far, but I definitely think it has a place in the deck. Therians Leaper Fam. This is an Aqua level 7, same effect, needing to target an Aqua or a Therians. During your opponent's turn, quick effect, you can target one Therians card in your spell and trap zone and one card your opponent controls. Return them to the hand. Therians monster with this card gains 700 attack and the preceding effect. So I like this one a lot, especially because like in later turns you can bounce and equip from your spell and trap zone and then special it again, and it does allow you to recur some of your combos plus get rid of opponents' problematic cards. This obviously outs things like you can get over Imperial Order with this, you can get over not Mystic Mind, but certain cards that people complain about a ton right now. There are ways to get over them now with the deck and allow yourself to play, although I don't see a scenario in which this deck really loses too much to Imperial Order. I'm just using that as an example because it's been a hot topic of conversation lately. It's good, and it's another option. That quick effect bounce is what makes it really strong. Being able to return something and then an opponent's card during their turn means you have a lot more flexibility, whereas this card is not a quick effect, so you can't like pop something during the opponent's turn. You'd have a really strong foundation there if you could, and I think the deck would be substantially more significant, but we will see what happens. I think the people that are excited about it definitely have reason to be, because it looks like there's a lot of really cool stuff here. Therians Ring, the Colosseum Saucer. When this card is activated, you can add one Therians monster from your deck to your hand. Okay, it's a field spell in 2022, so that makes sense. Once per turn, if a monster or monsters you control will be destroyed by battle, you can send one Therians card or one Perpetual Engine Archetype system from your deck to the graveyard instead. Once per turn, if a monster is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can target one Therians monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand. You can only activate this card once per turn. So a lot of things here, as a field spell does. Some of them are very battle reliant, not the best in the current Yu-Gi-Oh, but it's not terrible. The main appeal, of course, is the searchable element of this. It's basically a tanking for the deck that has some other built-in effects, and being able to mill to protect stuff from battle destruction in certain scenarios, I suppose, is icing on the cake. I think it's a good card. I think these field spells have become really common for archetypes nowadays, but that doesn't mean they're bad. It just means that they're a little overdone, but I like it. Perpetual Engine Argyro system. Love the artwork on this. I used it for the thumbnail. Very goofy looking energy ball in the middle there, but this is a neat card that definitely seems to have some support with the other cards in the archetype. So it's a normal spell. Send one Therians card from your deck to the graveyard. If this card is in your graveyard, you can target one Therians card in your grave, add this card or that card to your hand, and if you do, place the other on the bottom of the deck. So basically, you can either put this back and add a Therians from grave to hand, or you can put a Therians back from grave and add this to your hand, which would then theoretically allow you to mill again. You know, depending on what you're looking to set up, I can see where this is really good. You can only use one effect of this card's name per turn. Yeah, that makes sense, because it'd be really kind of dumb if you could, like, mill something and then bounce this back and your bounce back another Therians card, get that Therians card to your hand. It would essentially turn it into a Rhoda, and it seems like they don't want that much consistency when the deck already seems to be moving in that direction. So it's a good card for sure. I don't know how many you need to play, especially because it's recyclable, but it's definitely another neat piece to what they're getting here. Therians Charge. Send one Therians card or one Perpetual Engine Argyro system from your hand or face-up spell and trap zone to the grave. Draw 2 cards. You can only activate 1 card with this card's name per turn. Alright, so it's a Destiny draw. It's really solid, though. The fact that you can use cards from the field is awesome. You can equip something and then send it to the grave after you've used its effect, maybe, to get the draw and not have to worry about minusing another card from your hand. So in certain scenarios, this card could end up being a +1, depending on how your field is set up. And by +1, I mean trading field advantage for hand advantage, which is usually more important. Draw power is always good. This is also searchable, so there's a lot of reasons to like this, as well as, you know, the other ones. This, of course, is not considered a Therians card, so it's not searchable by the monster that searches the spells or traps, but I do get why. This is a really solid card, though, overall. It's a draw card. There's not a ton to say about it, but it's searchable, and it's good in that regard. Therians Cross. When your opponent activates a monster effect while you control the Therians monster, activate one of these effects, or if you have Perpetual Engine Argyro system in your graveyard, you can activate both in sequence. Either negate that effect or banish that monster. So, basically, Disruption negates a monster effect from anywhere, and you can also banish that monster if you have another Therians. It does suck it's not spell speed 4, so it's not a counter trap. It can be responded to, which is a little bit problematic in terms of, like, making deck building choices nowadays, but it's still a neat card. Maybe it's one you play at 1, being able to just disrupt stuff, and again, it is searchable. You do have an Omni Negate with the boss monster, so I could see merit in this being played for sure. Therian Stand Up is the last one. Normal trap. Target one Therians monster in your graveyard. Special summon it. Then you can equip one Therians monster from your hand or graveyard to it. During the main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard. Then target one Therians monster you control and one Therians monster in your graveyard. Equip that target in the grave to the target you control. It's okay. It's sort of like Unauthorized Reactivation, which is a card that came out in the, I believe it was the Machina structure deck for Union monsters. I don't think this card is all that great. The revival portion of it is decent, so maybe it gets a slot as a one-of because it's millable with some of your other cards, and there's ways to get it back and use its effect where it's not going to be a dead draw, but I don't see this as a multiple unless there's something I'm missing, and maybe people who have looked into the archetype a little bit more than me already since it was announced yesterday have a better idea. But if I'm missing something, definitely let me know. I think it's a solid card, but I just think in today's Yu-Gi-Oh! And based on what I can tell this deck is looking to do, it doesn't seem as though this card is going to be anything game-breaking. So, overall, I do think it's a really, really cool archetype up to this point. I like the mechanic. It feels new enough that it's fresh, and there is some interaction there for these cards within their own, like, individual typings as well. Like, maybe machines could play this. The Aqua one might have some application in water. I don't know. I'd have to... Maybe not. I don't know. It depends. 'Cause some of the Aqua cards that, like, benefit off of being sent to grave could work, but I think for the most part, these are probably going to be designed to be played within their own strategy or with plants because, of course, Lone Fire, Mardell, there's so many cards that do good things. So let me know what you guys think of these in the comments down below. I will see you guys Wednesday for another video, and hopefully we can get our ban list predictions out in a timely fashion this time around, which is totally on me, but I know people have asked my thoughts, and I'm working on putting that video together. Happy to be back. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.